Hello and welcome to your daily oracle reading for Monday, December 16th, 2019. I'm Linda the Lightworker. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump into our cards. Our first card today is the Ace of Swords. Now, this Ace of Swords, well, okay. Let's start off saying for the swords, there are four different suits in the tarot deck, and the suit of swords is represented by the air signs, so that is Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, and all of this information is especially true for you. But since we're coming off this powerful Gemini full moon, which are both depicted up here, well, there's a sun and a moon just partially eclipsed, which is, I think, where we are in the moon cycle. So this is especially true for all of us. The Ace of Swords. So the ace in any of the suit sign signifies new beginnings. It can be, so since we're in the suits, this is a fresh start, and everything comes from creation in the mind first. So the air signs are especially strong in the brain space, in the air space, up here in the ethereal, and in the head. So this is true for us. So what does that mean? That means this rather phallic divine feminine of creation yielding this sword. There's the two dynamics, the duality of what happens in our thought of creation. So the question is, how are you going to use this sword? Are you going to use this sword for the highest good? Or are you going to trust your intuition? Are you going to work with your intuition? Are you going to stay in that divine alignment? Or are you going to this is an either or situation. Or are you going to use that sword to cut others down, or cut yourself down, or to be super judgmental, or have step into and feed your fear with your thought patterns? So this is all about what's happening in your head as you're moving forward, creating your week, creating your dynamic. So you want a little example of that. Let's say you have a coworker who is working near you, close by, and you are getting irritated by their behavior or things that they say or how they chew or whatever little nuances that can trigger us when we're in our alignment, and then we'll hear a sound or pay attention to whatever, a cackle, a smell, it could be anything. What are you going to do with that energy? How are you going to respond? Are you going to respond in a positive way and say, notice, as like, oh, I'm being triggered by this? The positive way would be like, what does that remind me of a time when I first started to get upset by that? And I can usually go back to where my original triggers were from childhood, and heal the wound that's coming up. That's the sunny side. The dark side is to lash out, or to say, if this person give an ultimatum, if this person does this again, that's it. That's my last straw. Like, you just laid a plan for exploding. So it really is this duality of how are you going to navigate the sword. And really be aware that you might not even notice that you might be cutting someone else down, even unintentionally. So Spirit saying, do your best to be impeccable with your words and think before you speak. Definitely think before you speak today. So I went to the Denise Linn Sacred Travelers deck for a little bit of clarity. We got this beautiful Finding Sanctuary. It says opening to your spiritual source. So the Finding Sanctuary is important, especially when this sword is coming up and you're not sure of where your thoughts are. So I'm really hearing about work identifiers is coming through for some of you. So finding your sanctuary will allow you to be in balance when you pick up the sword, so that you'll know what actions. It will help you with divine speech and being clear with your thought, being clear with your speech like me right now. Being clear with your words, having come out of that Mercury retrograde. People are still talking about that last one because it was a real kicker in the pants for many of us. But finding the sanctuary so that you regain your trust with spirit, with your higher self, with your intuition. How do you find your sanctuary? Where is your safe place so that you can come into alignment? Remember, it can be done simply by meditating, putting on a headphone binaural beats, reprogramming your neural pathways. Work on that. Think about that. How do you find your sanctuary? And then when I go to the Divine Action Card deck, I get inside voice. So this is really an inside job. All of this is, how is this voice appearing? What are you noticing about this voice? You've just moved and you're relocating and you're setting up your house and you have judgment already of where you've put things. How be nice to yourself. Be your champion. Celebrate all that you've come through. This can be interpreted so many different ways. Celebrate what you've come through and where you're headed rather than being grumbling or cranky from the past. It really does seem as simple as picking a direction where you wish to live. Many people live simply in their past and reliving their stories and their situations, their events, their traumas over and over and over again by retelling the story again and again and again in the same way, in the same tone, in the same canter. Pay attention to your voice, your inside voice. Is that the truth of your story? Is that the way the story needs to be told? Or is it time to change your story so that you're able to move on from this past traumas? Now, sometimes these are joyful stories that we want to keep, and that's great too. But if they're traumatic stories, stories that re-trigger anger or old pain or injustices or defiant or he said or defend yourself, I was right, blah, blah, blah. Notice where your inside voice is. And seriously, to get that, you must be in your place of sanctuary. It doesn't have to be a church or a mountaintop or in a pool, but it really can be anywhere. It can be a short period of time, it can be a drive. I live out here in the Wild West, and there's still so many open places. It's so nice to take a drive and to find our balance, for me to find my balance in the car. I love a road trip, though. All right, my dear. Well, it sounds like there might be a little bit of positive self-growth today. And anytime we take those steps forward, it really helps us become our full potential as a human being on this planet in this day and age. Because we're here, we might as well show up and be our best self possible. I hope you know how much I love you and how grateful I am you stopped by my channel. If you're a new subscriber, thank you so much. And if you're compelled to share my videos, I really appreciate it so we can grow my little channel just a little bit more. All right, my dear, I love you and I look forward to seeing you next time.